Suspect in actor Menglong's death arrested. Shocking confession. The world was still reeling from Menglong's untimely death when a chilling announcement shattered the silence once again. A suspect had finally been arrested. The whispers of cover-ups, billion-dollar conspiracies, and powerful figures pulling strings now faced their first crack. But what followed was not just an arrest. It was a confession so horrifying, so emotionally devastating, that it rewrote everything the public thought they knew. This wasn't just a murder case. It was the unveiling of a nightmare so meticulously orchestrated that it could rival the most haunting crime thrillers ever written. And yet, this wasn't fiction. This was Menglong's reality. The moment of arrest. It began in the quiet hours before dawn. A convoy of black police SUVs rolled through a secluded villa estate, their sirens off, their headlights dimmed. The air was thick with tension. The target, a man whose name had been whispered in private circles, but never spoken publicly. Witnesses described the arrest as surreal. Officers stormed the property, dragging out a disheveled figure who looked nothing like the powerful industry player he once was. Neighbors watched from behind curtains as flashlights cut through the darkness. And then came the words that would haunt reporters for days. "I never wanted it to go this far, but he had to be silenced." The suspect's trembling voice carried through the night, caught on the body cam of an officer. That one sentence exploded across the internet in minutes, sending hashtags like #JusticeForMenglong and #TheTruthUncovered skyrocketing into global trends. The confession room. Hours later, inside an interrogation chamber with white walls and a single dangling bulb, the suspect sat hunched, his hands cuffed to the cold steel table. His face glistened with sweat. Every breath he took seemed heavier than the last, as if the weight of years-long secrets had finally crushed him. Cameras recorded everything. Detectives asked calmly, "Why Menglong?" And that's when the floodgates broke. The suspect leaned forward, his voice quivering. It wasn't just about him. He was the key. He found out things he wasn't supposed to know. Deals worth billions. Names that cannot be spoken. If he had lived, everything, every empire built on corruption, would have collapsed. Reporters who later viewed the leaked footage described his tone as half defiant, half terrified. He wasn't only admitting guilt. He was exposing something larger, something far more dangerous. The shocking scenes that followed. As word spread of the confession, protests erupted outside police headquarters. Fans, clutching photos of Menglong with tear-stained faces, screamed his name into the night. Some knelt on the pavement, burning incense, as if demanding his spirit to finally rest. Others clashed with riot police, insisting that one arrest wasn't enough. "This is bigger than one man," a protester cried on live television. "They killed him because he was light in their darkness." Who are they protecting now? Inside the station, officers scrambled to handle the chaos, while forensic teams began piecing together the truth behind the suspect's claims. Flashbacks to Menglong's last days. Investigators revealed new details from the suspect's confession that painted a heart-stopping picture of Menglong's final days. According to the testimony, Menglong had confronted the suspect just a week before his death. He had allegedly said, "I know what you're doing. I won't stay silent anymore. The world deserves to know." The suspect described the moment with haunting clarity. "He looked me in the eyes, calm, unafraid. That terrified me more than anything. He wasn't just an actor. He was brave enough to destroy everything I had built." Those words sent shockwaves through fans, who flooded social media with clips of Menglong's past interviews, where he often spoke about justice, honesty, and fighting for truth. Many began to see his death not as random cruelty, but as the silencing of a man who stood for something larger than himself. Courtroom firestorm. When the suspect was finally brought to court for his preliminary hearing, the scene was unlike anything the city had ever witnessed. Crowds lined the streets, holding banners that read, "Justice for Menglong" and "Truth Can't Be Buried." Television crews fought for angles as the suspect, now pale and visibly broken, shuffled and surrounded by heavily armed guards. Inside the courtroom, Menglong's mother sat in the front row. Her face was streaked with tears, but her eyes burned with an unshakable resolve. When the prosecutor read the suspect's confession aloud, the silence was deafening. And then came the gasp, an audible wave across the room, when the confession mentioned names of high-ranking figures yet to be publicly identified. The judge had to order parts of the testimony sealed, citing national security implications. But the damage was already done. The world now knew Yumenglong's death was not an isolated act. It was the result of a sprawling conspiracy. The public's reaction. The internet exploded with fury, grief, and an unyielding thirst for justice. Fan groups organized vigils in multiple countries. Candles illuminated city streets as people sang songs dedicated to Menglong, their voices trembling in unison. One viral video showed a child holding a candle, whispering, He didn't deserve this." Millions reposted the clip, with captions like, "Even the innocent know the truth." Celebrities, too, began to break their silence. Some wept openly on live streams. Others cryptically hinted that they had also been silenced by the same forces that targeted Yumenglong. One actor posted only 3 words, "I'm still scared." The dark aftermath. Though the suspect confessed, questions loomed larger than ever. Who were the others he referenced? How deep did this conspiracy run? Was his arrest just a sacrificial distraction, meant to pacify the public while the real masterminds slipped away? The suspect himself seemed to know his days were numbered. In one chilling moment during interrogation, he whispered, "Even if I'm gone, they will keep moving. You don't understand. Menglong was only the beginning." Those words, captured on camera, went viral instantly. Fans replayed them on loop, dissecting every syllable for hidden meaning. Conclusion: the story is far from over. Yumenglong's death was once thought to be a tragedy of circumstance. Now it is undeniably a crime of power, greed, and fear. The suspect's arrest was a milestone, but also a warning. This case runs deeper than anyone imagined. As the trial looms and more evidence surfaces, the world is left asking, who else knew? Who else was involved? And will justice ever be complete for Yumenglong? The suspect's shocking confession opened a door that cannot be closed. And beyond that door lies a darkness the world is only beginning to comprehend. The confession that shook the world. The morning after the arrest, the world woke up to images splashed across every news outlet. A once powerful man, his face hollowed by sleepless nights, shackled as he was dragged into custody. Yet, it wasn't the arrest itself that froze hearts across nations. It was what happened next, behind the closed doors of the interrogation chamber. The Chamber of Secrets. The interrogation room was stark, almost clinical, lit by a single bulb swaying above the suspect's head. The walls seemed to close in as detectives shuffled papers, their pens poised to capture every word. The suspect sat with his hands cuffed, his shoulders hunched forward like a man already carrying the weight of his own grave. Sweat rolled down his temple, and his eyes darted around as though shadows lurked in every corner. Detective Zhao leaned forward, voice steady. "Tell us why. Why Yumenglong?" The silence stretched, broken only by the sound of his shackled hands tapping against the steel table. And then, with a crack in his voice, he spoke. He wasn't supposed to know. He wasn't supposed to see the things he saw. The first reveal. Reporters later described what followed as a confession that felt like a movie script, except far too real. The suspect began to describe Yumenglong's last confrontation with him. He said the young actor had discovered documents, evidence of offshore accounts, secret transactions, and connections to figures so high in the entertainment and political chain that even speaking their names was dangerous. "You had allegedly said, 'I will not be part of your silence. If you don't stop, I will go public.'" The suspect's eyes brimmed with tears as he recalled those words. He confessed that in that moment, he realized Yumenglong was not just a threat. He was a mirror reflecting the darkness he had buried deep within himself. The man's breakdown. As the confession deepened, the suspect's tone shifted from defiance to despair. His voice trembled, his hands shook uncontrollably, and his breathing became ragged. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he muttered, his voice cracking. "It was supposed to be a warning just to scare him." But when I saw his eyes, so fearless, so unbroken, I panicked. I knew then I could never control him. The detectives sat frozen. Some scribbled notes, others just stared, unable to hide the shock etched on their faces. For many, it was the first time they saw a man who once wielded immense influence completely unravel before their eyes. The public explosion. When the leaked audio of his words hit social media, it broke the internet. Fans played the clip over and over again. The tremble in his voice, the moment he admitted Yumenglong had been silenced for standing against corruption. Tears flooded live streams. One viral video showed a group of young fans gathered outside the police station, holding candles and chanting, "Menglong lives in truth. Menglong lives in us." Others demanded more names. If he knew the truth, who else is hiding it? One fan screamed during a broadcast. The haunting admission. The most chilling part of the confession came hours into the interrogation, when the suspect dropped his voice, so low the microphones barely caught it. He leaned close to Detective Zhao and whispered, "Even now, as I sit here, you don't understand. This isn't over. I am only the first domino. The others, they're watching. They're waiting. And they will erase me the way they erased him." Detectives exchanged nervous glances. The statement was immediately redacted from the official transcript, but by then, it had already leaked. Citizens began speculating about a hidden network of conspirators stretching far beyond one man. Inside his nightmares. Sources later revealed that during his time in the holding cell, the suspect was tormented by nightmares. He would wake up screaming Menglong's name, begging for forgiveness, clutching his chest as though suffocating under invisible hands. Guards reported him sobbing through the night, mumbling lines like, "He's still here. He's watching me." The haunting image of a once untouchable figure now reduced to a broken shell electrified the public imagination. Was it guilt? Or was it fear of the powerful figures he had implicated in his confession? The press conference. That evening, the police held a press briefing. Cameras clicked furiously as the spokesperson confirmed. Yes, a suspect has confessed to his role in the death of Yumenglong. However, the investigation continues. There are larger forces at play. The word set fire to every news outlet. Headlines screamed, "Not just one man and the web behind Menglong's death." On live television, Yumenglong's mother, standing amidst reporters, wept openly and whispered, "My son told me once, truth is more dangerous than lies. Today I see he was right." The courtroom storm. The suspect's first court appearance drew crowds that stretched for blocks. Supporters carried flowers, fans held banners, and some knelt in prayer. Inside, the suspect looked like a ghost of himself, pale, trembling, his eyes swollen from sleepless nights. When asked by the judge if he wished to retract his confession, he simply lowered his head and muttered, "The truth is out. What more is there to hide?" The courtroom erupted. Some sobbed uncontrollably. Others shouted for harsher punishment, while a few whispered fearfully, "If he is telling the truth, then the real monsters are still free." Conclusion: a confession that changed everything. The suspect's arrest was a turning point, but his confession, raw, trembling, and horrifying, was the true spark that ignited a movement. No longer was Yumenglong's death viewed as a tragedy alone. It was now understood as the consequence of standing up to shadows too dark for one man to face alone. And though the suspect now sat behind bars, the world could not shake his final words. "I am only the first domino." Those words still echo today, leaving millions to wonder, how many more dominoes are yet to fall?